Hello everybody and welcome. Today's video is going to be pretty straightforward. I decided I wanted to do my own tier list of just kind of specifically about gold making for each profession. Let's get a couple things out of the way. This is only my opinion, right? I could easily be extremely wrong. Just take that for what it is. This is my opinion on going into the expansion with everything I've seen on the beta and other creators and everything combined. My own knowledge of, every expansion up until now, on top of just how things are building up going into Dragonflight. I'm going to rate them based on how much gold I kind of think you're going to be able to make on these. This is not necessarily about, hey, this early or this late in the expansion. I'm going to kind of have my thoughts mixed in there. It will kind of change a few things on the list because there's a few things I think are very important to talk about in regards to timing on some of these professions. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. I'm going to start the tier list, not necessarily, in order from what I have posted here, but just directly, I'm going to start with something that I think is going to be insane this expansion. And that is something super easy, super simple, and that's Herbalism. I really do feel that this is the expansion of all expansions. Like if you're somebody who does just like double gathering, I really feel like this is the expansion for you. Being able to get to those T3 materials and some of the more rare materials, being able to get to the point where you're getting those in Tier 3 is going to actually be quite difficult and time consuming, and I think very lucrative. This is one of those things I don't just think that Herbalism is going to be lucrative at the start, as usually at the start of every expansion you have gathering professions that really dominate early and things sell really high. I think even with the market, with the commodities market and everything like that, the way that it is now, I still think Herbalism and stuff is going to be insane early. It's not just going to be insane early, but it's going to be insane throughout the entire expansion, just based off of how much of these T3 materials and stuff that people are going to need. I honestly feel that it's S tier. It's going to make insane money with the time investment into it. It's going to be quite good. I know that might sound kind of boring to you, but honestly, it's just the truth. Let's go from that into, let's say, Alchemy. Where do I think Alchemy is going to go? In all honesty, I have an issue with Alchemy, and it's in the basis of how it works. The fact, this is hard. I might end up moving some of these in a little bit. I'm going to stick it in A for now, just for the fact that Alchemy is good, right? Like, making the files, making everything, all your raid consumables, all these kind of things. Like, Alchemy's going to make money. It always does. When does it not make gold? It's going to, absolutely. But I think there's going to be an issue with Alchemy early, specifically because it works on a discovery system, and discovery systems tend to kind of suck. The fact that you can be learning a discovery and it could not proc or go on cooldown or whatever the case may be, or you can get lucky and hit a discovery and learn a OP, OP meaning a valuable recipe, and then shoot for that recipe early, it's going to be really good. Sure, it's going to be hit and miss. If you're lucky, you could make probably really good money early. However, I do think it's going to be pretty consistent for the most part on Alchemy. I can't put it into S tier. I gotta put it into A because I'm not happy with how the profession works, and I think that the overall gold isn't going to be, kind of typical to how much Alchemy makes. I do think it's going to be good. It's definitely not going to be bad. Let's put it that way. Let's go into one that let's say I'm going to go into Blacksmithing next. Where would I put Blacksmithing? I very much think Blacksmithing is S tier, and it's not just S tier. Can I move those? There we go. It's not just S tier. I think it's very near the top of S. I think blacksmithing is going to be insane. I think it's going to be insane for everything that it makes, not just like the actual plate gear, but the fact that it's making weapons again. And I've been on record numerous times saying that if you want to make insane amount of gold, you really need to focus on server specific goods, meaning armor, meaning weapons, meaning things like that. Like in the long run, being able to not even first ones, but just in general, being able to make those, mythic quality items, it's going to make huge money, especially if you're one of the first people to get there. It's going to be insane. And I just feel that blacksmithing is right near the top of that list for everything that it can do. I'm not going to go into all super details about anything. I'm going to try to make this a quicker video, but I really do feel that blacksmithing has everything going for it. You can go tons of different directions and focus on tons of different things, and it's going to just be a huge gold maker if you put the time and effort into it. Blacksmithing for me is going to be an S tier profession. Sure, let's talk about the next one on the list. That is cooking. I think cooking is absolute garbage. I think it's gonna suck. I don't think it's very good. I think you're kind of like Shadowlands or something like was near the beginning. I made some side extra money doing cooking, but it wasn't something that made me a ton of gold. I'm kind of going on like the amount of gold that you're going to bring in throughout the expansion is the way I'm looking at it. Yeah, you're probably going to make some money with cooking. No, I don't think it's going to be that good, at least in comparison to the other things on this list. I just don't think it's going to be very good, right? It's cooking. I don't think I need to say much more than that. Enchanting. Based off of what I know from the beta and what I've messed with, where am I putting enchanting? I think at the moment I'm going to stick enchanting in B. And that's for this reason. It's because what does it have going for it? It is literally kind of just enchants. It doesn't have other avenues like blacksmithing does, or like some of these other professions down here that we'll talk about. It's pretty much just enchanting, right? And that's not to say that that's going to be bad. I think it's going to be very good early, specifically depending on the rarity of the purple of the epic crystals, whatever the hell they're called. I can't remember. Depending on the rarity of those, and if you could be somebody who kind of goes the direction into getting as many of those as you can early, whether it's the direction where you can like break down weapons for a chance to get some and things of that nature. I definitely think you're going to make good money with enchanting. I think the materials are going to be pretty expensive early, specifically the purple crystal ones. But in the long run, how good do I think enchanting is going to be? It's not going to be bad, and that's kind of why I have it in B. It's not going to be a bad profession to have. I actually kind of, like, if I was making a list based on gold early, I actually would put this higher, but I think in the long run, there's just professions that are better than it. Not because it's bad. I think there's a few professions that are just flat out going to make a ton more gold than enchanting. And that's kind of why I'm going to stick it in the middle, because that's kind of where I think it is. Sure, let's go next. Engineering. Engineering's a hard one. Engineering might be the one where I would say take for the, with the most grain of salt for what I have to say. Oh man, engineering can go a lot of different ways. I'm going to stick it in B. I almost want to put it in C. That's hard. I'm sticking in B for now. It might move. Engineering. Engineering, obviously, if I was rating things on fun, it would be near the top, if not the top. But in terms of like how much money are you going to be pulling in with it, there's the thing that you can, suck out the stuff, like the motes, like the mote extractor thing or whatever this expansion. That's going to make it some money. It has some other things going for it. It has a couple, it has the goggles. It has the bracers with the punch cards and stuff like that. Like those are all really dependent, because if I'm not mistaken, I think that recipe's difficult to get, or a chance to get, kind of thing. If I'm looking about overall money, and that's really where I'm looking at this, it's not that you can't make money with it. I don't think it's going to make as much as enchanting. I don't think there's a chance that it makes as much as enchanting in the long run, especially with how easy to use enchanting is going to be for making money. I don't see engineering being at that point. So I'm definitely going to have it behind enchanting. So I will stick it in B for now. I actually do want to talk about this one. I actually think fishing is going to be pretty darn good. Now, why is fishing going to be good? Well, I am going to like anything that could be funneled into multiple different avenues. So not just is fishing used in cooking, but fishing is also going to be able to be... Gosh, I almost want to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put it after engineering, to be honest. The reason why is because of... I can't even think of the name. But one of the reps needs fish, or fish can be used for a rep to increase it faster, and to get more. And I think for the people that want to push that kind of thing early and often, fishing might make some pretty decent gold early. Might. I'm taking a risk saying that, but at least it's used for more than one thing, right? It's used to help push one of the reps, as well as it's used for cooking and such. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I don't know if I could put it above engineering. I'm changing my mind on that. That it's at least going to be better than cooking overall. I'm going to put it... Oh, goodness. I'm actually going to move it down to C. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be complete crap. Mostly for the fact that it can be used to get fish to funnel rep for a rep. People are going to have value in that. The people that want to push that early, it's going to have value to them. And I think that's where you're going to be able to make some okay money, actually, early on. Now, what am I going to go with? Let's actually go with mining. I already put herbalism near the top. I actually think mining is arguably just going to be even better. And I might even put it above blacksmithing, which is kind of hard to say, but let's move these around. There we go. I think mining is going to be absolutely insane. And it's not just going to be insane because of what blacksmithing can do with it, and how hard it's going to be to get that really good, higher tier ore to tier 3. Not just that, it has strong value because it's used in multiple different professions. It's obviously used in blacksmithing, it's used in engineering, it's used in jewel crafting. It's going to be very, very, very widely needed, and I think it's going to be insane because I really do think the gathering professions, for people that really focus on gathering professions, I do think that they're going to make an insane killing this expansion. And I do think it's going to slow down eventually, but just with with multiple professions using that tier 3 ore, especially once you get to the point that you're able to get the tier 3 ore, like you're never not going to be able to sell that well, I don't think. Maybe the tier 1 or something like that starts to really lose some value, as only some professions have like a dump for tier 1 stuff. So that's probably going to lose value after a while, pretty quickly even. But like that tier 3 stuff, I think it's just always going to be expensive. Kind of going on a limb saying that a little bit, but because it can be funneled into 3 professions, and it can be funneled into one that I think is going to be absolutely insane, I do think mining is pretty top tier in comparison to other things. So with that, let's go into another one that uses ore, and that's jewel crafting. Jewel crafting is another one that I have a hard time with. And I have a hard time with it because you got to think about what does it really have going for it. Well, it's another one that's pretty much just the jewels, just the gems. And why is that an issue? It's just because I don't know how valuable the gems are going to be. Like, are they going to be just super uber important to gem perfectly? And okay, and then the other issue I saw on the beta was just how freaking many different recipes there are. I think it might be difficult to be that guy to make the right one that everybody's looking for, or certain classes or whatever. I am gonna put jewel crafting right with enchanting. I think they're gonna be similar in terms of the value that they're gonna bring in. Gosh, I don't even know which one I'd put first. I think they're gonna be similar. I just don't know. Yeah, I just don't know on this one. It is one that I think, depending on the value that people put on gems and stuff in gearing, and just how many sockets and stuff you're gonna get, you know, are they always gonna spawn? Like, I honestly don't know. Things of that nature. It very well. This can be one of the ones that could be much better or worse than where I'm putting it, and that's kind of why I'm gonna put it in the middle. I think enchanting really is going to be slotted somewhere right around here, maybe low A, but I think jewel crafting is one of the ones that could end up somehow being S. I think there's an unknown about how good jewel crafting is going to be, to where I can't forecast that it's going to be like S tier like I think I can with like blacksmithing. I really feel like blacksmithing is going to be S tier. Now, let's go into tailoring. Where do I think tailoring is going to be? I don't think tailoring is going to be insane. You know what? I'm moving jewel crafting to the bottom of A tier. I don't think tailoring is going to be super insane. Obviously, you have all the cloth wares, you're going to have all the cloth gear, you're going to have bags, you're going to have different things like that. You're absolutely going to make money with tailoring. I just don't know. Well, you know what? I'm changing my mind again. So the reason I'm doing this, and the reason I'm putting it into bottom of A tier, is because of what I said before, of just how high a value I'm putting on things that can make server-specific goods. So, crafting gear, basically. I think that alone, the ability to craft gear alone puts it into A tier. Because I think if you craft gear whatsoever, you're A tier or better. Because if you can be that guy who's supplying that mythic level quality crafted item, it's going to go for high amounts of gold. It just is, and that's why I have to put it into IA. Honestly, I might even put it into higher than I don't know. No, that's too hard. I can't. No, I'm gonna leave it there. Anyway, I'm done with that. I'm done with tailoring. I think it has to be A, just because it crafts gear, right? And I put an extremely high value on server-specific goods. That's the thing that scares. I think Alchemy is going to be very good, but that's kind of the thing that scares me with Alchemy. I have a hard time not putting Alchemy A, and I'm really sitting here considering Alchemy over tailoring. What do I think is going to make more gold? Part of me wants to put Alchemy under, but I have a hard time really thinking if Alchemy is going to be worse than tailoring, just given how Alchemy's been forever. Do I really think tailoring is going to make more money? No, I don't think it will. But I do think tailoring is going to make really good money, just given the fact that it makes gear specifically. Okay. How should I do this? Let's go leatherworking. Where do I think leatherworking is going to be? Honestly, I think it's without a doubt S tier. Part of me wants to put it above blacksmithing even. I'll put it there. And let's talk about reasonings behind that. And that is exactly what I said with tailoring. It's the fact that it makes server-specific goods and making gear. Just the sheer fact that leatherworking has not just one, but two types of armor, you know, being both leather, which is the most popular, on top of mail, which you'd be like, oh, well, you know, mail's typically not insane, but now you have all these new evokers, and that's going to drive, I think, the price extremely high. You're going to have so many people re-rolling early, so many people rolling evoker, just like you see every time a new class comes out, that the percentage of them is going to be really high in the beginning. People are going to push them to max level first. They're going to think it's their new main, and then they'll probably change later. But that, on top of having leather and having what the new class wears, I don't know how it's not S tier. Actually, that's enough, I think, for me to put it above blacksmithing, now that I go over that. And I think leatherworking is going to be insane. For gold making specifically. Where does that leave skinning? Well, believe it or not, I would put skinning probably bottom of B tier. It's like, well, how can you have skinning bottom of B if you have leatherworking at the, you know, near the top of S? And that's simply because skinning is only used in like one thing, and that's leatherworking. Unlike something like mining, which is used in multiple different professions, and how herbalism is used in multiple professions. I just think if like all you had was skinning, what would make the most money? It's hard. I might put it above engineering. If all you had was skinning versus like only having one of these, I think these other ones would make more money. Part of me wants to put it above engineering. I think I will, actually. Engineering is too unknown for me. But I can't put it higher than that, because it's really only funneling into one profession, as the other ones are not. So that's what I think there. I left what I think is the most interesting one for last, in my opinion. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think Inscription not just is it S tier, but it might be number one, at least to me. Now, why do I put S tier? You know, why do I put Inscription into S tier? A lot of that I think is just Dark Moon cards and doing that. I think those are going to be not just extremely expensive to make early, but they're going to fetch a pretty darn high price. On top of the fact that you can upgrade them, and upgrade that deck is going to give it some more longevity. I think that's going to be insane. And even if you didn't want to take a risky business adventure like that, just given how much RNG there's going to be on getting cards and whatnot, specifically getting the aces and everything, I think in general the treaties, or however the hell they're said, or contracts, either one of those. So contracts meaning like rep, and then the other one for skill points that everybody's going to need, because a lot of these professions are going to hit a point where they can't gain skill points anymore, and it looks like their skill points are going to be gained through other means, one of which is a weekly cooldown on using that item that Inscription makes to gain that skill point. And I think that's going to make Inscription a lot of money over the long term. Maybe not like Dark Moon deck money in terms of like giant amounts, but it's going to make you gold for a long time. For a long, long time. I think, judging by like what, you know, I'm thinking back to BFA, I'm thinking about a couple different times of when Dark Moon decks go for a really high amount, you know, and if you're going to be one of those guys that can fork those out and make those for people, you know, Dark Moon deck is usually a pretty good moneymaker. Every time I've ever pushed it early in an expansion, I've usually made a pretty substantial amount of gold. I don't see this being any different, especially if they can keep the numbers up in terms of, you know, item level and being able to upgrade them and so on and so forth, I think I do think that Dark Moon decks could be pretty darn expensive and make an absolute killing early. And even if those fall off, or even if those aren't as good as people want them to be and it doesn't make as much money, or whatever the case may be, I do think that having the contracts and having the treaties that you can, you know, use to increase the skill level of every other profession, so every single profession is going to go to Inscription to get that level up every week. I think Inscription is going to be an absolute insane moneymaker, and I'm going to put it at the top of my tier list. Remember, this is my tier list, so you can think differently. That's okay. And honestly, if you do think differently, I'd love to hear about it on why, you know, if we want to go into more concrete evidence on why you feel something might be in a different spot. But I really feel that Inscription's pretty darn S tier. I think mining is right there with it, given just how difficult it's going to be to get to the tier 3 stuff, especially of the more rare, you know, tier 3 stuff. On top of that, how many professions it funnels into. I think Leatherworking is right there, given that it has not just the new classes armor, but it has leather, which is the most used. I feel that server-specific goods are going to be insane. And I'd prefer to go that route over commodity type stuff, just because that's the one that's going to get clogged up the quickest. Granted, not early. I'm not talking about early. Everything's going to be valuable early, but just like, you know, late Shadowlands, it'll get to a point where it just doesn't have the value anymore. Look at leathers in Shadowlands. But I do think Leatherworking is going to do absolutely insane for gold making. I think Blacksmithing is right there with it. And I think Herbalism's up there just because I think gathering stuff is going to be insane, and the fact that Herbalism is used for both Alchemy and Inscription, it's going to be highly valuable. Yeah, that's kind of why I have all those in my S tier, and then obviously you see the rest of the list here. So anyway, my first ever tier list. How do you guys like that? Do you guys agree with me? Do you not? Comments, questions, anything you want to add? Is there one of these that ticks you off where I put it and you just have to try to put me in my place? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd be very interested in how you guys feel. But this is just based on my honestly limited time in the beta that I've messed around with things, on top of just how much I've messed with each profession, and, you know, knowing what they can and can't craft and kind of where I think they're going to end up. This is my tier list. So with that, guys, I'll see you all in the next video.